What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'm super excited to be finally bringing to you your ultimate reading guide to the Ryanverse, featuring Jack Ryan and Jack Ryan Jr. Now this video is a little bit overdue. I've been wanting to do it for a little while, particularly since a video I recorded a couple of years ago called Why You Should Read the Jack Ryan series continues to get views today, which tells me that there is a loyal viewership for this content, and I felt that I had to deliver something. And if you're thinking about picking up the series for the first time, look no further, because this video is for you. So the video will be made up firstly of a series overview where I brief you on what the series is about as a whole. Then I'll give very brief summaries of each and every book in the series so you know what to expect, and then I'll add some suggested starting points in the chronology as well as I'm going through, because there are several points you can start if you feel a bit intimidated by Clancy's extensive prose and dense detail in the earlier books. There is a way of easing into the Ryanverse rather than starting from the very beginning, but I will go through that very shortly. Now at the moment there are 38 books in the series, with 2 more on the way, so you could be forgiven for being intimidated, but I am here to tell you that you don't need to be. And I've included a list of the full publication list in the description below as well, so you can refer to that. So let's kick it off with what the series is about overall. Now it's technically made up of 2 eras. There's the first era, which I call the Tom Clancy era, all the books he wrote before he passed away, and then there is the Legacy era, which focuses on an older Jack Ryan, now as President of the United States, and his son Jack Ryan Jr. Now ever since the first book came out, The Hunt for Red October, way back in 1984, the series has grown exponentially in popularity. Even after Tom Clancy's passing, Mark Greaney is a prominent series contributor, and he was lucky enough to briefly collaborate with Clancy before his death, and he wrote quite a few of the books in the Ryanverse, and he became one of my favorite contributors of the whole series. So he essentially kicked off the Legacy era in a really good way. So the series follows Jack Ryan in the very beginning, where he was a Marine, but his military career was cut short because his Seahawk helicopter undergoing a mission crashed, and he sustained severe back injuries, so he couldn't actually carry on with his military career. So what he did, he took up a career in trading on the stock market before leaving with $8 million in assets, and he studied for his doctorate in naval history, and he became a professor at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, teaching students naval history and also writing history books on the subject as well. He was eventually asked to consult with the CIA on some issues there, and he had a natural knack for intelligence and pattern recognition. He had a real natural ability for that line of work. Now, he came to the attention of Admiral James Greer, who was the Deputy Director of Intelligence of the CIA at the time. He was offered a permanent job but ended up turning it down, but he did end up getting promoted to Deputy Director of Intelligence when Admiral Greer became very sick with cancer. He had a brief stint as National Security Advisor to the President of the United States before assuming the Vice Presidency. Now, he finally reaches the pinnacle of his political career and is now the President, and has been ever since. Over his long career, particularly in the early days, he has had to use his intellect and instincts to bring justice to those that threaten the United States and his very family. In recent years, President Ryan sanctioned the conception of an off-the-books top-secret special ops agency called the Campus, headed up by ex-Navy SEAL John Clark, and along with Ding Chavez, they work under the front company of Henley and Associates, which is a stock trading company, and along with Ding Chavez and Jack Ryan Jr., they undertake risky operations in response to threats against their country and across the whole series. New characters are also added to the Campus, which I think is very cool. So over a long career, Jack Ryan has had a lot of time to make enemies, and his character arc spanning decades is incredible, vast and interesting. When Tom Clancy himself passed away in 2013, it was very sad, but the legacy he left behind allowed the series to grow. And here we are 11 years later, and during which time there have been an incredible raft of contributing authors to the series, including Mark Greaney, of course, Grant Blackwood, Mike Madden, Mark Cameron, Don Bentley, and most recently Andrews and Wilson, and the soon-to-be-featured MP Woodward. So there's 2 books on the way, another one from Andrews and Wilson and one from MP Woodward, which I'm very, very excited about. So every time a new author comes into the Ryanverse as a contributor, I always get nervous and think to myself, don't fuck it up. It's my series, no one else's, it's mine. I'm very protective of the series, and Andrews and Wilson, their latest book, absolutely impressed me no end. So those worries were quickly put to rest, and that book has become my new favourite of the entire series, which is absolutely massive. And Andrews and Wilson have another book coming out in December called Defense Protocol, which I'm really looking forward to, and I am going to be scoring an advanced reading copy of that one, so I can't wait to bring it on. Okay, so now I'm going to be telling you about each and every book in the series. Now I'm going to keep it brief. I'm only going to spend about 30 seconds or less on each title, because there are, after all, 38 books in the series, and you do not want to watch a 3-hour deep dive video on every book. So I'll go through those, and along the way I will recommend several starting points which you might find handy if you're thinking of picking up the series for the first time. So let's start with the Clancy era. Now, the first book in the Clancy era, of course, is The Hunt for Red October from 1984, the book that launched Tom Clancy's career and became an instant bestseller. This is the one where Jack Ryan helps a Russian submarine captain defect to the US in return for turning over secrets that involve the Red October, a top secret Russian submarine. Now, this book gets a nice bit of mythology from Act of Defiance, the latest book by Andrews and Wilson. That's all I'm saying. You will have to read on to find out, but this is an incredible starting point if you're thinking of picking up the series. It is a really good taste of Tom Clancy's writing style, and it really kicks off the Jack Ryan character very, very well. Okay, coming up next in the publication order is Patriot Games from 1987. This is the one where Jack Ryan faces off against the URA after he stops an assassination attempt on the royal family and kills Sean Miller's brother. And Sean Miller is out for revenge and puts Ryan's family in danger. It is incredible. If you've seen the film starring Harrison Ford, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. There are moments where the threat is just incredible, and it is probably one of my favorites in the whole series. Coming up next in the publication order is The Cardinal of the Kremlin from 1988. This is the one where Ryan has to rescue a spy from the Soviet Union before his cover is blown, and also to stop a top secret laser weapon created by the Russians. So that one's not too bad. Then we have Clear and Present Danger from 1989. If you've seen the film with Harrison Ford, you know what to expect with this one. The film is fairly true to the book, where Ryan has to unravel a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top, and to stop a cartel from Colombia launching an all-out war with the US over drugs. And this is where we meet Ding Chavez for the first time, and we are introduced to John Clark as well, who assists in the operation in Colombia. So it's a very thick book. It is one of the longest. It's 800 pages, but it's full of detail. It's full of technical expertise and technology, and is a pretty good read. Next up we have The Sum of All Fears from 1991. This is the one where Jack Ryan has to stop a nuclear device being detonated on US soil as terrorists retaliate against his attempt to bring peace to the Middle East. It is the stakes are really high in this one. The climax is fantastic, where the threat has to be stopped, and I don't remember the film with Ben Affleck all that much. I'll have to revisit that and see how true to it to the book it is. I don't think it is very true to the book though, but it is another thick read. It is let's see, it's 1,027 pages, but it is very, very good. The next one we have is Without Remorse from 1993, the first suggested starting point I would make to you. If you want to start from the very beginning, this is John Clark's origin story, where he was once known as John Kelly. He was a Navy SEAL who conducted operations in Vietnam, and in modern day he becomes entangled with some drug dealers, and his love interest at the time dies, and he is out for revenge, and he just goes and kicks ass and gets into a lot of trouble before eventually being picked up by the CIA and put on their payroll. So in the chronology, it is the very first book. because in the book you see a bit of a cameo from Jack Ryan's dad, who is a Baltimore police officer. So this goes back to the very beginning. If you want to go right back to the beginning as a starting point, this is the book for you. However, I read them in publication order and came back to this one a little bit later. I skipped it. I read the first few Jack Ryan books, and then after Clear and Present Danger, I came back and read this one, because you get an introduction in Clear and Present Danger to John Clark, and I think you get more of an appreciation for the character as a flashback with this one. But it is still a very good starting point if you want to start at the beginning of the chronology. Okay, next up we have Debt of Honor from 1994. This is the one where Jack Ryan has to stop a Japanese industrialist from taking revenge against the US surrounding the death of his parents. So there's a grudge here that comes back, and the son tries to deliver vengeance for that. Another thick one, which is 900 pages. So these are very, very dense, but they're very, very good. Okay. Next one we have is a standout favourite for me, and that is Executive Orders from 1996. This is the one where we bear witness to one of the best presidential ascendancies you'll ever read in modern fiction. This is where President Ryan, he's thrust into the presidential role quite suddenly after a 747 crashes into the Capitol building, killing half the government. And he has to rebuild the government from scratch. He has to handpick his own cabinet, and it is just absolutely fantastic. I think there's an instance where young Sally Ryan is abducted as well, so the stakes are really high. This is probably one of the thickest books at 1,271 pages. You would expect that from an epic fantasy novel, but there's so much rich detail and political intrigue in this one that it'll leave you gasping by the end, and it is definitely one of my favourite in the entire series. Coming up next, we have another favourite of mine, and that is Rainbow Six from 1998. This is the one where a new special ops group is formed, led by John Clark and Ding Chavez, who confront a new kind of terrorist threat. There are 3 terrorist acts that are committed, where Ding and John Clark have to come up against this threat, which is unbelievable. The stakes were so high. It was another thick one as well, but it just kept me enthralled from the first page to the last, and I highly recommend this one as well. Okay, next we have The Bear and the Dragon from 2000. This is the one where Jack Ryan tasks John Clark with uncovering an assassination attempt on the Russian president, as the 3 superpowers, China, Russia and the US, come to a head and face off. So it's another thick one, really thick. It's 1,115 pages. So these are big boys, these are chunkers, and do take a bit to get through, but they're still very, very good. Coming up next, we have a prequel novel, which is Red Rabbit from 2002. This is the one where we see the prequel where Ryan gets embroiled in a plot by the Russians to assassinate Pope John Paul II, which is really, really good. So it's the first real flashback novel that we get, and it's so interesting. We get new dimensions to Jack Ryan's character, and how the assassination attempt unfolds and how he foils it. And now we come to the Legacy era, which focuses a little bit more on Jack Ryan Jr. and the top secret ops agency, the Campus. Now let's kick this one off with The Teeth of the Tiger from 2003, my second suggested starting point in the series. Because of Tom Clancy's dense works in the earlier books, this one isn't quite as dense, and this is the first book of that features the Campus, and it's the first book that also introduces Jack Ryan Jr. to operations, where he becomes recruited by Henley and Associates, first of all as a stock trader, because Henley and Associates is a front company as a stock trading company, and eventually Jack Ryan doesn't want to do stock trading anymore and intelligence gathering. He wants to get out in the field, and this is the first book where he gets trained up. So he's very, very green in this book, and if you want to follow Jack Ryan Jr. first, this is the book for you to start with. If you don't want to go through longer Clancy books, because they can take a bit of time, this one, it's worded in less detail. The pacing is a lot quicker, than the other books, and it's only 600 pages, so it's low commitment, and you can always go back to the original Tom Clancy books later. There is nothing wrong with starting here if you want to get a good taste of the high octane operational missions and things that the campus starts off with. Next up we have Dead or Alive from 2010. This is the one where the campus has to go up against a terrorist mastermind known as the Emir, and they have to chase him across the globe to get him. It was high octane, there were high stakes, it was full of action and very, very impressive. Next up we have Locked On from 2011. This is the one where an old enemy of President Ryan's resurfaces to launch a campaign to discredit him and to also hunt down John Clark, because I believe that what John Clark went through in his past and how he changed his identity, I believe the secret is leaked somehow, and someone now has dirt on John Clark, and President has to protect John Clark in someone coming after him to make sure he pays for what he did. So that was a really, really interesting one where we get to see a little bit more of John Clark in that one. Next is Threat Vector from 2012. This is the one where the campus's secret could be leaked, along with growing tension between the US and China. I remember really, really enjoying this one, and they tend to get better and better as the series goes on, these books, but you know, this one is, you know, 612 pages, so it's not too bad. These later books are quite short in comparison to the earlier works, and they're very much more easy to digest, but I remember enjoying the hell out of this one. Next we have Command Authority, which is from 2013. This is the one where President Ryan's past comes back to haunt him, where a Russian leader attempts to store what used to be known as the Soviet Union. It was a really, really interesting one there. Okay, coming up next is Support and Defend from 2014. This is the one where there is a MacGuffin, a micro drive with information that could dismantle current intelligence gathering activities around the world, and Russia wants it. So if Russia gets their hands on it, you can imagine the implications there, where agents working undercover in the field could be implicated and terminated as a result. I remember enjoying the hell out of this one. Next we have Full Force and Effect from 2014 also. This is the one where North Korea may become nuclear ready, and it's up to the campus to stop it. So this was a thrill ride from first page to last. Next up we have Under Fire from 2015. This is the one where Jack Ryan runs into an old friend who delivers a secret message but disappears the next day, and it's up to Jack to unravel what has been going on. We have Commander-in-Chief from 2015. This is the one where President Ryan goes up against the President of Russia. There's a looming threat and only the campus can stop it. So that was a pretty good one from what I remember. We also have Duty and Honor from 2016. This one is when Jack is suspended from the campus, and a common theme across the later books is Jack tends to be a bit of a maverick and a loose cannon, and a couple of times he does get suspended from the campus and has to be disciplined by John Clark himself, because he could be, you know, he tends to be impetuous and runs into trouble like a bull out of a gate. Now this is where he is suspended, and he has to uncover the plot of a famous philanthropist and human rights campaigner, which was really good. We have True Faith and Allegiance from 2016. This is the one where President Ryan has to track down and get to the bottom of a hacking attempt to disable US infrastructure, which was really good. We have Point of Contact from 2017, where Jack Ryan Jr. has to stop a global disaster, taking on cyber criminals and assassins alike, which was pretty high octane stuff. We have Power and Empire from 2017. This is the one where tensions between the US and China reach a boiling point, threatening all-out war. Okay, we have Line of Sight from 2018. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. has to navigate Balkan blood feuds to prevent the start of a potential World War III. Next we have Oath of Office from 2018. This is the one where President Ryan faces threats from all directions: Iran, a lethal flu strain, a corrupt senator, and Russian nuclear missiles. We have Enemy Contact from 2019. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. has to face down a global conspiracy and go after the perpetrators. We have Code of Honor from 2019. This is the one where President Ryan is caught between a rock and a hard place as he tries to defend an old friend, at the same time trying not to offend the Indonesian government. Next up we have Firing Point from 2020. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. goes on a personal vendetta in Barcelona when he discovers a friend of his has been killed in a terrorist attack and finds out that she had some earth-shattering secrets that he needs to get to the bottom of. We have Shadow of the Dragon from 2020. This is the one where President Ryan has to deal with a breach in intelligence security with a strange noise that is picked up under the Arctic Ocean. Next we have Target Acquired from 2021. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. is filling in on a job for Ding Chavez in Israel, and he becomes a target of vicious killers that he has to escape and get away from. We have Chain of Command from 2021. This is another standout favourite. This is where an evil mastermind billionaire has President Ryan in his sights and plans to kidnap the First Lady. Now this is brilliant. There are such high stakes that you see President Ryan shocked to his core, and the way President Ryan reacts to Kathy's abduction is just heartbreaking, and I think I actually cried during this one. It is a real standout for me, one of my absolute favourites of the series. Okay, we have 0 Hour by Don Bentley from 2022. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. has to try and prevent another Korean war. It wasn't one of my favourites, but I have to say that Don Bentley, with his follow-up efforts in the Ryanverse, are sensational. So yeah, there we go there. Next we come to a prequel novel called Red Winter from 2022. We hadn't seen a prequel novel since Red Rabbit, and this is my favourite prequel novel of the entire series. This is where Jack Ryan, accompanied by Mary Pat Riley behind the Iron Curtain, they have to work an asset, and there are cameo characters that return that just make me smile. It was a real nostalgia trip, and I think Mark Cameron nailed it with this book, because we get a really good idea of how Jack Ryan and Mary Pat worked together in the past, and it is the perfect spot in the series to break things up a bit and deliver a sensational prequel novel. And it's definitely another starting point that I would suggest as well, if you're wanting to delve into Jack Ryan's backstory first before going into the main series. But it is an absolute cracker of a book. Okay, next we come to Flashpoint from 2023. This is the one where Jack Ryan Jr. has to try and prevent all-out war breaking out between North and South Korea. Now this is the follow-up from Don Bentley, which was a lot better than 0 Hour. I really enjoyed this one. Next we have Weapons Grade from 2023 by Don Bentley again. This is a really good follow-up where Jack Ryan Jr. has to face a ruthless enemy involving an incredible piece of technology. It's an unmanned aerial vehicle known as the Corsair, capable of deploying non-explosive ordnance. It is fantastic, and Jack Ryan Jr. really gets hurt in this book. So yeah, one of my favorites, and another follow-up from Don Bentley, which is absolutely brilliant. So there you go. Next we have Command and Control from last year. This is another standout where Jack Ryan himself, President Jack Ryan, becomes embroiled in a coup to overthrow the government in Panama, and his visit to the region provides an opportunity for those who would like to see him dead. There is an assassination attempt on his life, so the stakes have never been higher with this one. And finally, I don't need to say much about this one because I've raved about it on the channel, and that is Act of Defiance by Andrews and Wilson. Now, this is interesting and this is wild, but you could probably read The Hunt for Red October and read this directly after it to get immediate an immediate sense of connection between the two books. So you could essentially treat the Hunt for Red October as a prologue to this book, which seems a little bit out there and outlandish, but it kind of makes sense from a fun perspective. But this one has become my favorite book of the entire series. I absolutely love it. I loved it so much that I jumped on the email to Andrews and Wilson and invited them on the channel. I said in my email, you have to come and talk to me. I love this book. I would love to pick your brains about the Ryanverse in general, and they have agreed to do that. And that is happening in December. They also agreed to let me have an advanced reading copy of Defense Protocol, which is going to be their novel being released in December, which I can't wait for. So fantastic stuff. Okay, so in relation to the chronological order, if you really want to deep dive into the backstory of Jack Ryan, the books you would need to read in order chronologically would be Without Remorse, Patriot Games, Red Rabbit, Hunt for Red October, and Red Winter. That is the recommended starting point if you wanted to go chronological, and then everything else can follow. But it's up to you. But publication order is a little bit better from my standpoint, because as you get to know the characters and you get these flashback novels, you gain a deeper appreciation in a flashback format rather than reading them first, especially when there are hints alluded to events in the earlier books that affect later books. So either way is fine, and going back in chronological order is fun, but you'd probably do it more on a reread than your first time in the Ryanverse. But the suggestions I made for starting points are only suggestions which provide a different context to the series, but ultimately it is your decision which way you go. So now I'm going to finish things up with giving you 5 reasons why you should read this series. The first one, it offers deeply intricate plots involving geopolitics, espionage, and military strategy. Clancy's detailed knowledge of military operations and weaponry makes the series authentic and fully engaging. And the second reason is Jack Ryan's career trajectory. He starts off as a humble history professor and elevates himself to the President of the United States. His growth is portrayed in depth. It makes him relatable despite the extraordinary situations he encounters. The third reason is it's packed with high stakes action. It's thrilling and grounded in reality, with various plots taken from the front page of newspapers of the world. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. The fourth reason is the series explores themes that are relevant today, such as terrorism, cyber warfare, global power dynamics. It provides insights into the complexities of modern warfare and international relations. And the final reason is it's rich, it's immersive, there is so much ground covered and so much character growth throughout the series. It is incredible. It's not only the external conflicts that affect the characters, it's personal tragedy and personal experience as well that gives them a lot of depth. There is so much going on in the series. There is backstory, there are all kinds of political implications with various plot lines, and there are various threads that get tied up throughout the whole series, and all these characters resonate with me on a deep level. I have grown to love these characters, which is why I'm very protective of the series, and the reason why is my favorite series of all time. And just a point on the publication order of the books. When you get to Teeth of the Tiger, it's really good to read them all in publication order from there on in, because Jack Ryan Jr. in particular is the main focus of what I call the legacy era, where he starts off very green at Henley and Associates before he goes under his first special ops mission, and over the course of his character arc he grows, he evolves, he obtains really good valuable operational experience, but he also gets hurt, and he gets hurt a lot. So by the time you read about him in the later books, he has scars, he has experience, he has lived a very violent life. He has stressed out his dad more often than not about some of the scrapes he's been in, and he's been up against really high stakes, and that's why I've come to really love the Jack Ryan Jr. character in particular, and I've enjoyed watching his career and his personal growth evolve over the series. So guys, thank you for your patience in watching this one. It was a long video, but I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed sharing why this series is my all-time favorite with you. If you have any comments, please drop them below. But thank you so much for watching. As I said, I've got a full list of the books in the description below, and I've also included the link to a website I like to use called Fantastic Fiction, where you can click on the link and all the Jack Ryan books will be there for you to look at, and you can read the synopses and all sorts of things. You can look it up on Goodreads, of course, to get an idea of additional details for the series, but I can't recommend this series enough. So thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.